welcome to another episode of Better You. I'm your host Dre, and today I have an interesting topic for you. It's one that I get asked about constantly by the women that are connected to me. It is vetting a mate. Earlier today was having a conversation and talked with a friend for probably about a good 30 minutes or so. They were asking me for my insights on evaluating this potential person that they've gravitated towards, and it's something that gets thrown around a lot online, but I don't. At least I can put it like this: rarely do I come across much advice on how to do this. So it's going to be the first half of a two-parter. The first one is for the ladies. So I kind of brainstormed a few quick points of some of the things that I often touch on when I have some of these conversations, just so that I don't forget. It's not everything to the process, of course, but I do feel like it's a good starting point for those who are interested in someone. So, with that being said, don't forget the like button. Go ahead, comment, subscribe, and let's get into it. So, first point: how do you view men? And I think it's important for both men and women to start with themselves. Since I'm going to have another one addressing men, this one's going to pretty much be all directed towards the ladies. But some of the things will apply. How do you view men? And what I'm really getting at with this is, how do you view masculinity? Do you view men and manhood as simply a utility? Do you view the value of a man as to some of the things he's able to do in his resources? Or do you view manhood in totality as what that man can do, but also who that man is? Because it's easy to simply say, I want somebody that's able to take care of this, that, and the third, or, take on the bulk of the bills and all this other stuff. And a lot of times I feel like, especially when listening to the conversations for some of our women, it's almost like a complicit clause in what they're saying. It almost comes across like, yo, if he makes enough, he can be an asshole. If he makes enough, he can do whatever. If he makes enough, he can be a monster. And if that's the type of time you're on, okay, fine. I'm not here to shame anybody on necessarily their thoughts and views in that regard. However, when you view something a particular way, or in this case, when you view someone through a particular lens, that influences how you interact with them. So if you're putting out particular energy, and it comes across in your behavior, it can influence how that person is dealing with you before you even get to the stage where necessarily, certain deeper things are even on the docket. And if they do, it can also kind of, let you know the road up ahead. So, second, do you have a good idea of them and their tendencies, their likes, dislikes, what makes this person tick? A lot of times, we can form an attraction to a particular aspect of a person when we first meet them, but once we start to get deeper into them, sometimes it's kind of like this horrible realization that sinks in where you realize like, oh shit, this motherfucker is vapid. There's nothing going on, or it's, I guess the much better thing would be like you realize, hey, you know what? I really like this person, but I really see where outside of this particular thing, we do not see eye to eye on anything. And not always a bad thing to disagree. But from a chemistry standpoint, if what's holding your attraction, what's the glue that's there is something that's very surface level or superficial, then that's probably going to be a relationship that is on a timeline. Whether it be a mutual interest in a particular hobby, maybe even certain social functions brought y'all together, so on and so forth. When there's nothing else behind it, that can be a serious challenge for a relationship. Because if y'all personalities are clashing outside of certain things, if y'all are just complete opposites in that regard, that's one that I think you really have to think about and talk through. And that's not to say that, once again, a person being a woman and a man being that man, you probably are going to have a lot of different interests and hobbies and certain things, but there'll be certain places where you meld personality wise. And I guess a good example of what I'm trying to illustrate is, like, say y'all met over music or over a particular TV show or something like that, and that kind of sparked up the conversation and initial interest, and you're like, oh damn, well, they're a fan of Futurama, I like Futurama, like, yo, they're really great. And you start to talking and whatnot, after a little bit you kind of realize, like, I'm picking up on some things with their personality where it's like, that's some shit I don't like. And sometimes it's just simply a sign that, like, yo, not compatible, not deeper, not meant for a deeper level. And then as you get deeper into the courting process, I think every woman should know what a man values and what his goals are. Those two things can tell you a lot about a man. It can tell you where he's trying to go, the direction he's trying to steer his life into. It can show you areas where you could possibly fit into his life and add value. And in terms of his values, I put it like this: I would argue most men of good character operate by some moral compass. And it's not to say that there's some universal code. Every man's code is different, so to speak, in that regard. But I don't know of, at least anecdotally speaking, I haven't encountered very many men that I would consider to be high caliber and of good character, and people that I would want to emulate and have characteristics that I want to associate myself with, that didn't have some form of moral code and compass that they operated by. Some of it was not shared by me, but it tells you a lot about a person. It tells you how they see the world. And I feel like once you understand how a particular person sees the world, it makes it a lot easier to empathize with them, to get in their head and rationalize things, and from the perspective that they do. I mean, all individuals are going to act in a manner that's in their interest. So if you can understand where that person is coming from, you can kind of have a good idea how they're going to react in certain situations. Whether, say you've been dating and courting for a while and particular situations have not come up, that's not to say that, this particular person is going to fold or become volatile and unreliable on you. A person with a strong compass, with strong character, when tough times tend to come, they tend to respond. That's my observation from the bit of life I've lived. One of the things that you probably want to ask, or at least find out, especially pay special attention to, is observe how he interacts with others. Observe those key relationships in his life. This again can give you insight into that man and the type of person that he truly is. If a man treats his mother poorly, that should give a woman pause. At the end of the day, there's not too many women that men love like their mother. And unless there's like some really, really deep things there, if he's treating his mother poorly, if he's treating his sisters poorly, his aunts poorly, you can infer from that he's had some relationship issues that probably is shaping his outlook, and it might not be a stretch to infer that there's a high propensity that this individual may treat you poorly, and vice versa. If this individual treats the women in his life extremely well, that says something about the type of caliber of care and investment that he makes into the women in his life. So that is a point that honestly should probably give a little bit of comfort and reassurance in that regard. Most people, when it comes down to those relationships, whether it be family, whether it be close friends, like even sometimes colleagues, how those relationships go and how that man maintains those relationships is oftentimes a big indicator for the type of disposition he's going to have towards his intimate partner, in the intimate woman in his life. After that, this one kind of ties in a little bit. Who can hold that man accountable? And where I'm going with this is this. And I'll speak simply for myself, but I know it's the case for some other brothers too. My mentality is simply this. A lot of times, I could be wrong, but I doubt it. And if you don't have some evidence, if you don't have anything to show me that's reason for me to pause or pull up in my particular course of action, then, I'm going to keep going. And sometimes, frankly, I can be a bit bullheaded. And there's certain people in my life that can talk sense into me. There's certain people in my life that even when I'm in a particular mood, even when I'm like double, triple, quadruple down. If they say, "Hey Dre, come here for a second, Dre. Yo, what's up, bro? What's up, Pop?" And I might disagree with everything they got to say, but those are the people that can talk to me. Those are the people who can get my ear. And for myself, it's my frat brother, it's my brothers, my cousin, and my dad. If it's somebody that's outside of those five, 50-50. But those are the individuals who can get my attention. Those are the individuals who can hold me to account. And what I mean by holding me to account is simply this: like, hey, all five of those guys have at some point in time pulled me to the side and said, "Dre, you dead wrong." And I may not have agreed with them in the moment. I may have tried to rationalize and justify it in any type of way and sense that I could. But 9 times out of 10, ultimately, I end up hating it. But when we have those conversations and they explicitly use the words, "Dre, you wrong for that," most times they right. Overwhelming majority of the time, they right. And you want to find out who those people are for him, because for one, those are the people that when, like I said, when he's in those particular moods, when he's bullheaded or whatnot, those are the people who can get his attention. Those are the people who can constructively redirect him. Those are the people who can help him see things or see a point that maybe you're not able to articulate with the same gravity towards him. So next, you probably want to understand, does he understand how he needs to be poured into and how he pours into others? Some people would kind of reframe this as like the love languages. I'm not opposed to those or to that framing in that theory. I just feel that love is something that manifests itself in a myriad of ways, and I feel that those five are a little bit limited. But you know, it's something that does convey the point. And what that one is getting to, that point is getting to, is that oftentimes we may express our love, compassion, and care for an individual in a particular way, and then we also may receive it in another. To use myself once again as an example, I realized a long time ago, one of the things that that wows me with the woman is when I have her time. I'm a person who is extremely busy. Have a job, have a long fucking commute of nearly 2.5 hours to Atlanta a couple days a week. I'm getting more involved with my frat. I'm involved in other groups. And then on top of that, I got personal projects, some of which you probably will be seeing soon here on the channel. But my biggest point is this: I feel one of the biggest sacrifices that, at least for me, is my time. So although I'm always on the go, when I'm carving out time for that individual, that is something that is huge for me. When that individual has a similar type of life and they carve out time for me, that resonates so much. I'm also a gift giver. So a lot of times it's not a big deal for me to see something, pick it up, and shoot a little something to somebody. Even if I rock with my folks, like if I'm going out with my friends and, you know, if they catch me on payday, you know, they might be a few shots on me, might be a few drinks on me, just because I love and appreciate the folks that are around me. And the thing about it is, while I do like a good gift, gifts don't have the same impact on me that time does. Like somebody putting the thought, honestly, as cliche as it sounds, somebody putting the thought into, you know, picking out a gift for me. Like, I don't get a whole lot of gifts to begin with, so it's automatic. Wow, humbled. But the time thing is something that is huge to me, and I feel like everybody has a different dynamic to their personality. So the biggest keys of this is simply this: if you understand how to pour into that individual and how they give back and put out, it's one of those things that when that individual is struggling, when that individual is down, when they need just a little pick me up, if you understand what their buttons are and what to press to, you know, take it from here to here, then those are things that can boost a relationship, especially if what they do to put it out is something that you equally respond to, that takes you from here to here. I think that's a good synergy in which you are constantly pouring in and getting out. Those are some of the dynamics that I feel are important to relationships. And probably should have did this at the beginning. I'm not gonna edit it though. I think it's important to understand who's talking at you, so I'll pause right here real quick. Just say this: like, I'm somebody who has been married, who has been divorced. I was together with that person for 8 years pre-marriage, married for 1.5 years before I divorced, and since I've divorced, you know, several of my peers, I've divorced. I became a life coach. That was probably 2019. So about 4 or 5 years, 2018, 2019, about 4 or 5 years now, I want to say. And since then, I've helped a few my friends, a few people that have come to me. You know, I put like this: I'm not some celebrity coach who's like, oh, I've saved 100 marriages. But no, I have. It's been about 6 relationships that I've helped to stay together, including my own, with the lovely lady I'm involved with right now. So, you know, I think that's important to keep in mind. And also keep in mind that for a lot of the things that I'm talking about, it deals with more of a, I guess you would say, a traditional a relationship dynamic. That's not to say that if you have one that's not traditional, some of these points may not apply. But, you know, if you're in a, you know, alternative relationship style, more power to you. Wish you all the best. Some of these tips probably not for you, and you know, that's cool. I'm speaking to what I know. I'm speaking to what I've seen work and what's helped those that I've helped. So with that being next, this is one that Dr. T has thrown out a good bit, but is he able to articulate what he needs from you? And I tie that in with what he needs your role to be. And this is one that I feel is a little challenging for some black men, because we've always been taught and conditioned for considering others. And, you know, we often think of ourselves last. So much so that I will be frank, when I heard Dr. T. Hassan say that for the first time, I was like, man, I called bullshit on it instantly. I was like, nigga, that's bullshit. I lost your mind. And then it was like clockwork. Had a conversation, and my girlfriend, she hit me with it. And I was able to throw out a couple things, and then I really had to stop and think. And I realized that I had never thought about certain things in relationship as it related to me, beyond the most immediate of needs. And it was something that really changed my perspective. And once I was able to articulate and express more of that, I felt that was something that really helped my relationship. And that's something that, honestly, I can see being a challenge for some guys. And if that's a challenge for the guy that you're with, my biggest thing would be just to work with them and try to talk through it with them, and understand that, you know what, as you're talking through it, may not be the smoothest conversation. It's probably gonna be jerky and Shaq's free throws, but you know, it's one of those things that if you're invested in you carrying that person, that is going to be a conversation in which you will reap rewards for a long time to come afterward. So, kind of tying in what this probably should have went with another point, but you also want to find out how they deal with conflict. This kind of goes back with the accountability piece a little bit. Basically, you want to know what is this person's tendencies? What are the things that they fall back on? Do they tend to shut down? Are they loud? Are they argumentative? You know, are they conflict avoidant? And what you kind of want to do is essentially, before conflict even happens, like, hey, lay out the game plan. Like, hey, you know what, when we're not seeing eye to eye and we're getting kind of heated, like, you know what I'm saying? Let's talk. Let's put this particular plan in action for how we're going to engage each other to resolve said conflict. And it could be as simple as, you know what, when we get in there and we're getting heated, we each go to our corners for 5 minutes. We come back with a little bit cooler head perspective, and I allow you to speak. Once you're finished, then I speak, and then we try to keep the engagement going. Or maybe it's like, you know what, whatever the plan may be for you. But that's an important thing to know. And finally, who do you have in your life that's a good judge of character, that ideally is not a woman, who you trust, whose judgment you trust? So, you know, is it a dad? Is it a brother? Is it a cousin? A good friend? You want somebody who is a male, ideally, who can interact with this young man and hopefully pick up on some of the things that you as a female may miss, or may even be completely unaware of, just simply because you don't see those things, or you don't see that side of them. And I feel like that's probably one of the most important ones, because the reason why you want it to be a guy is because, say for instance, if they have certain traits, if they're able to woo you and they become enamored with you, just gonna be frank. Honestly, the thing that you probably find attractive about him, most other women would probably find attractive about him. And as such, if there's something there, one, he's going to, because of the dynamic, he's going to interact with them a particular way, for one. But two, also, if there is something there, you have to ask themselves if they have similar, especially if they have similar tastes to you. Like, would they be able to pick up on it? If you can't pick up on it, and you're wooed and enamored with them, why would they? So that's one of the reasons why you would want, honestly, several different people to evaluate that person. That's not to say that another woman's judgment is not valued and warranted. It most definitely is. But I feel like you probably want a little bit of a gauntlet. 3 to 4 people who you definitely want this individual to interact with. And get that will give you the God's honest truth as they see it. I don't mean like somebody who like, oh, I'm gonna take him around my best friend Billy, and every guy you bring to Billy, whether they the best dude ever or whether they ain't shit, Billy's like, oh no man, he's great. I'm not about the dirty Mac dude. Nah, he's great. No, you want that person's like, hey yo, sis, like, come in. I'm seeing X, Y, and Z with dude, which gives me caution. I think you might want to look out for certain things, and if you start seeing this, I think that probably is a sign that the way I'm thinking, they got certain tendencies. And I know how you are. I don't think you vibe with those tendencies. So those are just some of the immediate points that I got. The next one will actually be geared towards the men and things I think guys should do when vetting women. These are not all the points. This is not the end all be all. Not gonna put that out there, but it was something that kind of hit me, and I honestly didn't expect to be as long as it is. But if you're still rocking with me, thank you. Big thanks for all the people who have subscribed and been tuning in and watching me, especially family, especially friends, especially my girl. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Peace. I'm out.